Baseball season in Major League Baseball is one of the longest and most data-driven sports seasons in the world, and that's exactly why it attracts so much attention from sports bettors and odds makers. Every pitch, every matchup, every pitching rotation change, and even weather conditions can influence how a game plays out. And sportsbooks like BetRivers Sportsbook build their entire betting system around that constant flow of information. Before anything else, it's important to understand what sports betting actually represents in a modern digital sportsbook environment. A platform like BetRivers is essentially a regulated marketplace where odds are created by analysts and trading systems that evaluate teams, players, statistics, injuries, and historical performance. Those odds are then offered to users who choose to wager on possible outcomes of games. In the case of MLB, that might include predicting which team will win, how many total runs will be scored, or even more specific in-game events, depending on what markets are available. Now, when people talk about MLB betting, they usually start with something called the money line. The money line is the simplest form of baseball betting conceptually because it is focused only on which team wins the game outright. But even though it sounds simple, the odds behind it are built on a deep statistical foundation. A favourite team will often have lower payout odds because they are expected to win, while an underdog team will have higher payout odds because they are less likely to win according to the model used by the sportsbook. These numbers are not random, they are constantly adjusted based on betting activity and updated team information leading up to game time. Another major category that appears in MLB betting is the run line. Baseball games are often low scoring compared to other sports like basketball or football, so sportsbooks typically use a spread system where one team is given a head start or disadvantage, commonly set at 1.5 runs. This means instead of simply picking a winner, the outcome depends on whether a team wins by more than a certain margin or loses by less than a certain margin. This creates a different layer of strategy because a team can still win the game but not cover the run line, depending on how close the score is. Then there is the total runs market, often referred to as the over and under. In this type of outcome prediction, the focus is not on who wins the game, but on how many total runs both teams combine to score. The sportsbook sets a number based on expected offensive and defensive performance, pitching matchups, ballpark conditions, and even weather like wind direction or humidity. Participants are essentially deciding whether they believe the final combined score will be higher or lower than that number. It's one of the most widely used formats in MLB betting because baseball is such a statistics-heavy sport, and scoring patterns can be analysed in detail. In a platform like BetRivers Sportsbook, all of these markets exist within a structured interface that organises games by date, league, and available betting types. While different sportsbooks may present information differently, the underlying concept remains the same across the industry. The odds are dynamic, meaning they can change right up until the game begins, and sometimes even during the game itself if live betting is enabled. Live betting, also known as in-game wagering, adds another dimension to MLB betting. Instead of placing a prediction before the game starts, live betting allows odds to shift in real time based on what is happening on the field. If a starting pitcher is unexpectedly pulled early, or if a team scores multiple runs in a single inning, the odds adjust immediately to reflect the new reality of the game. This creates a constantly changing environment where timing and interpretation of the game become extremely important. However, this also increases complexity because decisions are being made under rapidly changing conditions rather than pre-game analysis alone. One of the most important concepts behind all of this is understanding how odds actually work. In American-style sportsbooks, odds are usually displayed in a format that shows how much potential return a wager could produce relative to a stake. Positive odds typically represent underdogs, while negative odds represent favourites. But what many people do not initially realise is that odds are not just predictions, they are also shaped by betting behaviour. If a large number of people bet heavily on one side, the sportsbook may adjust the odds to balance risk and encourage action on the other side. This is part of how sportsbooks manage exposure and maintain equilibrium. MLB betting also relies heavily on statistical analysis. Baseball is a sport where long-term data matters significantly. Pitcher ERA, batting averages, bullpen strength, strikeout rates, and on-base percentages all feed into predictive models. Even more subtle data points, like how a player performs against left-handed or right-handed pitchers, can influence odds. Stadium factors also matter, because some ballparks are more hitter-friendly than others, due to field dimensions and environmental conditions. All of these details are factored into the pricing of betting markets. Another key element is timing. Odds in MLB betting are not static, and they often shift significantly between the opening line and game time. Early odds are set based on predictive models, but as more information becomes available, such as confirmed starting pitchers or late injuries, the lines adjust. This is why sportsbooks are constantly updating their numbers to reflect the most accurate probability estimates possible. It's also important to understand that sportsbooks like BetRivers operate within regulated environments. That means they are required to follow legal frameworks depending on the jurisdiction. Users typically must meet age requirements and comply with local laws before participating in any form of wagering. This is an important part of the system because it ensures responsible gambling practices are maintained within the industry. From a broader perspective, MLB betting is not just about guessing outcomes. It's about interpreting data, understanding probability, and recognizing how small changes in conditions can influence a game that lasts 9 innings and often includes hundreds of micro decisions. A single pitch can change momentum, and the momentum in baseball is one of the most unpredictable elements of all. Many experienced sports analysts treat betting markets as a reflection of collective intelligence. The odds represent the combined judgment of statistical models, professional traders, and public betting behaviour. That is why odds move, and why they are often different across various sportsbooks. Each platform has its own risk tolerance and user base, which affects how prices are adjusted. Even though MLB betting may appear straightforward on the surface, it is built on layers of probability, psychology, and real-time information flow. Understanding those layers is what separates casual observers from people who study the system in depth. However, it is also important to remember that no system can eliminate uncertainty in sports. Baseball, more than many other sports, is known for unpredictability. Underdogs win regularly, top pitchers have off days, and unexpected outcomes are part of what makes the sport compelling. When people look at platforms like BetRivers Sportsbook, what they are really seeing is a structured interface for probability markets. Each game becomes a collection of possible outcomes, each assigned a value based on statistical expectations and market behaviour. Whether it's a money line, run line, or total runs market, everything is built around estimating likelihood, not guaranteeing results. At the same time, responsible engagement is a critical part of understanding this space. Sports betting should always be viewed through the lens of entertainment and risk awareness, rather than certainty or income expectation. The outcomes of games are influenced by human performance, which is inherently unpredictable. And that unpredictability is something no system can fully control. So when you hear about MLB betting or sports books like BetRivers, what you are really hearing about is a complex intersection of sports analytics, probability theory, and market behaviour. It is a system designed to reflect expectations about real-world events while constantly adjusting to new information as those events unfold. And in the end, that is what makes baseball betting one of the most analytically interesting spaces in sports, but also one that requires caution, awareness, and a clear understanding that every game remains unpredictable until the final out is recorded.